crew members crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad airport. Now, the plane was carrying 169 Indians, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian passenger and was bound for London. Already, 130 plus casualties have been confirmed. 130 plus passengers have been declared dead, even as rescue and relief operations are on. The tragedy and crash has been so severe that the worst is now feared as far as the casualties are concerned. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner 12 and is believed that the pilots lost both engines and plunged very quickly after takeoff. Before Ahmedabad, Boeing 787, known as the Dreamliner, entered service in October 2011 and had never been involved in a fatal incident. But there have been many concerns over safety and audit-related issues with Boeing, the company itself. Home Minister Amit Shah, Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu have travelled to Ahmedabad along with other ministry and DGCA officials. News also is that former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was on the flight travelling to London, where his family is currently, and we are awaiting confirmation on his condition. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. Air India Boeing flight AI-171 from Ahmedabad to Gatwick in London crashed immediately after takeoff from the Ahmedabad airport itself. As per ATC, the aircraft departed from Ahmedabad at 1:39 p.m. this afternoon from runway 23. So it was scheduled to leave this afternoon. It departed or took off at 1:39 p.m. There were 242 persons on board the aircraft, consisting of 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew, as I mentioned. The aircraft was under the command of Captain Sumit Sabharwal with First Officer Clive Kundar. Captain Sumit Sabharwal is a line training captain with 8,200 hours of experience. The co-pilot also had 1,100 hours of flying experience. Now, the captains, the crew gave a mayday call to the ATC shortly after its takeoff, but thereafter no response was given by the aircraft to the calls made by the ATC. Now, the flight is said to have crashed within a minute after takeoff from runway 23. It had barely achieved a height of 600 odd feet. And the worst is that it actually lost control so badly that the pilots crashed right outside the airport perimeter. The Air India flight crashed at an under construction building, but it also damaged in its path a medical college and hospital, where few students have also been injured. We're also trying to ascertain more about their condition on ground. So what exactly happened mid-air? Initial data from flight Air India 171 shows that the aircraft reached a maximum barometric altitude of 625 feet only. Now, this is not a lot. This is just about 425 feet above the altitude of the runway itself, which is at 200 feet. Minutes after making that mayday call, the Air India flight started to descend with a vertical speed of minus 475 feet per minute. So you can imagine that actually the flight went down so quickly that within a few seconds it had crashed into those buildings, possibly giving no time to the pilots and others to even try to maneuver away from what seems to be a heavily densely populated area. These are some of the videos that we have also been able to capture through various residents of that area. This is, of course, the moment the Air India Ahmedabad London flight crashed after takeoff. You can see that it immediately burst into flames, which is why we are fearing heavy casualties and possibly no survivors. Minutes after the flight crashed at this under construction building, visuals show parts of the flight up in flames. Footage also shows firefighters dousing those flames soon after the plane had crashed. And because the proximity of this crash site is so close to the city and the airport itself, the rescue and the fire services actually managed to get to the area, to the crash site fairly quickly, within minutes, is also what the police has confirmed. The visuals from the crash site show the debris of the flight AI-171 scattered across the area. This is one visual that is extremely damning as far as this crash is concerned. This is one portion of the crashed aircraft that has actually got stuck on top of the building, and other parts that have fallen on the ground, where of course there are lots of people that you can see as well. Dramatic visuals also show these parts crashing into these buildings at various areas. There is another mess hall where about 50 to 60 students that are studying, there are MBBS students that were studying in the nearby colleges, and there's a hostel where they used to live and mess hall where they were eating lunch, when actually parts of the plane crashed into the windows of that mess as well. But thankfully, there have been no casualties there, at least the mess hall is concerned. Soon after the crash, rescue efforts were in place, of course. Injured were rushed to hospitals. These are some of the visuals that we've managed to access. Chief Minister of Gujarat has also visited the civil hospital where most of the injured are being taken. These are, of course, injured. We don't know whether these were passengers. It's unlikely that they were passengers, because the situation also is that there could be more casualties or injured from on ground, from the buildings and across the airport perimeter where this plane crashed and burst into flames. We're also getting more fresh visuals that are arriving of the moments after the crash. Take a look at this visual. These are visuals of this densely populated area. You can see buildings are also on fire. There is debris on the ground that has caught fire as well. So these are the buildings that have come into the path of this crashing aircraft. We are being told that MBBS students lived in these hostels, and we are waiting to get more as far as their condition is concerned. But there is also a mess building, a mess hall where students had gone for eating during the lunch hour, which also bore the brunt, but less severe brunt of this crashing aircraft. At least there we spoke to an eyewitness. The students are safe. But the eyewitnesses told us that there is another building where this craft had crashed into. The visuals we also showed you earlier of the crashed aircraft stuck into the building. And there could be some casualties feared. But of course, we're trying to get you the latest. Let's also listen in, not just to eyewitnesses, but other relief agencies on ground as well.
यहीं मेरे ऑफिस में बैठी थी, जैसा धड़ाका हुआ मैं वहाँ ऑफिस से वहाँ गई। बहुत बड़ा प्लेन क्रैश हुआ था, तो बहुत धुआं और आग लगी थी। जो डॉक्टर्स के फ्लैट थे उनको बहुत डैमेज हुए हैं, और उसमें से कितने डॉक्टरों को हमने निकाला है, लोकल कार्यकर्ता और सब मिलके। बाद में जो प्लेन में से निकाले हैं वो लोग भी बहुत बड़ी दुखद दुर्घटना, बहुत कुछ अभी कोई अंदाज़ा नहीं लग रहा है। रहने वालों को भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ है।
हाँ, जस्ट बोर्डिंग हुआ तो मैं अंदर फ्लाइट के अंदर वॉक करते जा रहे थे, बट सामने बहुत बड़ा धुआं वगैरह दिख रहा था। बट उस टाइम मुझे ये नहीं मालूम था वो प्लेन क्या है। जैसे कोई आग, झाड़ी में वगैरह जंगल में आग लगती है ना, लाइक वैसा कुछ तो लग रहा था। ये मालूम नहीं था कि वो प्लेन क्रैश हुआ है।
तो उसके बाद क्या हुआ? इंडिगो की तरफ से इन्फॉर्मेशन, एयरपोर्ट की तरफ से क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली?
नहीं, तब तक कुछ नहीं। फिर हम अंदर जाकर बैठे, हमारे साथ में हम फोटो भी निकाले थे, जैसे कोई आग लगी होगी झाड़ी वगैरह में। जब फ्लाइट में बैठे और 10-15 मिनट इधर फिर एकदम से अनाउंसमेंट हो गया कि फ्लाइट डिले हो रहा है। बट वहाँ पे उन्होंने ये रीज़न नहीं बताया कि किस वजह से डिले हो रहा है। डिले हो रहा है इतना ही बताया था। बट अभी वो वाईफाई मतलब इंटरनेट वगैरह सब चालू था, मोबाइल पे न्यूज़ आ गया, तब हमें पता चला कि वो फ्लाइट क्रैश हुआ है।
मेरा लड़का है ना, वो ब्रेक पड़ा था खाने का, तो हॉस्टल में खाने गया था इधर, यानी हॉस्टल में ही प्लेन क्रैश हुआ। पर मेरे लड़का को कुछ हुआ नहीं, बात हुई मेरी। और इसके भाईबंद है ज़्यादा है, तो लोग मर गए ये। फिर मेरे लड़का को देखने जाना है अंदर। मेरे को लड़का बोला है कि मैं अच्छा दूसरे माल से कूदा था ना, तो थोड़ा खाली लगा है, ऐसा बोला है मेरे को। पर मैं जाऊँ अंदर तो मालूम पड़े ना ऐसा।
ठीक है।
हमारी बहन जा रही थी लंदन,
1 बजे जा रही थी।
1:10 की फ्लाइट थी और जा रही थी लंदन। लंदन जाने से पहले ही क्रैश हो गया प्लेन।
मेरी साड़ी था, वो अमृतसर थी और लंदन जा रही थी।
हाँ, फिर
बस वो 1 घंटे में समाचार आ गया तो प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, इसलिए मैं वापस अहमदाबाद से बाहर निकल गया था। तो वापस आए सील में आ गया। अभी कुछ भी समाचार नहीं मिला है।
कुछ समय पहले दोपहर को एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना घटी है। एयर इंडिया का AI-171 जो अहमदाबाद से लंदन जाने वाला जो फ्लाइट था वो क्रैश हो गया है। उसमें कुल 242 लोग थे, 230 पैसेंजर थे और 12 क्रू मेंबर्स थे। तो वहाँ पे अभी सब राहत का कार्य शुरू है, बचाव का कार्य वहाँ पे शुरू है। हमारे मिनिस्ट्री में भी अभी हमने एक वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों की बैठक भी करी है। जांच तो शुरू है, वरिष्ठ लेवल पे हमारी मीटिंग भी अभी यहाँ पे हुई है, और वहाँ पे अभी इमरजेंसी में जो बचाव राह का कार्य चल रहा है उस पर चर्चा हुई है। अभी किसी बात पर बोलना, यानी कि कितनी कैजुअलिटी हुई, क्या हुआ, तो उस पर थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा।
Let's go across to some of our experts joining us. Captain C.S. Randhawa is President of Federation of Indian Pilots. He's also served as former General Manager of Air India and former Deputy Chief Flight Operations Inspector at the DGCA. Group Captain M.J. Vinod is a former fighter pilot with the Indian Air Force with us. Dr. Vandana Singh, Chairperson of Aviation Cargo, Federation of Aviation Industry in India. V.K. Kukur is aviation expert also with us. I do thank you all for your time. First up, I want to go across to Captain C.S. Randhawa.
Yes, ma'am.
Your thoughts about the nature of the crash first up, because it has happened within a minute of takeoff, giving the pilots and the crew hardly any time to even be able to change their course of line or their direction, crashing into these buildings. What do you think could have transpired? What could have been those moments like inside that cockpit?
Okay. To start with, this was an extremely tragic accident which has occurred. Let me give you some background. This flight was from Ahmedabad to London Heathrow and must be carrying at least 65,000 to 70,000 liters of aviation turbine fuel, which is highly inflammable. And it is in the category of the kerosene, and it is much more inflammant than petrol. Now, the aircraft has taken off. The pilot must have engaged the autopilot around 200 to 250 feet. Now, it seems that the aircraft would have been about 500-600 feet when it started descending, which I've seen through the video. And the pilot has given a mayday call.
Yes.
Normally, the mayday call should succeed with the nature of failure. Supposing I say mayday, 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 engine failure, left engine failure or right engine failure or both engine failure. The pilot has not given that. I think must be because the time was too short and the pilot was still thinking that what he has to do.
Okay.
Now there are, I could be wrong, the actual analysis will come after the DFDR, the digital data flight recorder, which will be taken out, which records many parameters of the aircraft, speed, height, engine thrust, your engine oil pressure, temperature. There are various parameters this DFDR, which is called the black box, records. In addition to that, there is a cockpit voice recorder, which has got a recording up to 2.5 hours, and then it starts auto erasing. So these two will be able to tell us during the investigation, which I don't think so, the AAIB, which will be instituted to do this inquiry of the crash, they will take time because even the Boeing company will be involved in, in this investigation.
So just hold your thought. Just hold your thought. I'm going to come back to you and our other experts as well. My colleague from News 18 Gujarat, reporter Maulik Dhamecha, is actually joining us from the BJ hospital where this plane crashed. Yes. मौलिक, हमें जरा दिखाइए वहाँ पे किस तरह का डैमेज हुआ है और आपको क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन, क्या जानकारी मिल रही है कि कोई वहाँ पे जो बच्चे थे, जो स्टूडेंट्स थे, उनके क्या हालचाल है?
बिल्कुल पूरा मामला जो है वो 1:30 बजे के आसपास जब प्लेन क्रैश हुआ तब बना था। फिलहाल ये दृश्य से आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये जो पीजी अस्पताल है, जहाँ डॉक्टरी की अस्पताल से पढ़ते हुए बच्चे, जहाँ प्लेन क्रैश होने के नाते लगभग 22 से 30 बच्चे थे जो यहाँ पे प्लेन क्रैश होते ही सीधा ब्लास्ट हुआ और ब्लास्ट होने के नाते वो यहाँ जलकर राख हो गए। साथ ही साथ 133 से भी ज़्यादा पैसेंजर जो प्लेन में सवार थे, अहमदाबाद से टेक ऑफ की हुई फ़्लाइट जो थी वो लंदन की ओर जा रही थी, पर करीबन एयरपोर्ट से निकलते ही लगभग 1 किलोमीटर दूर आई होगी और 1 किलोमीटर दूर आते ही ये ब्लास्ट होने के कारण सारा जो है तहस नहस हो चुका है। पूरी बिल्डिंग जो है 8 माले की बिल्डिंग अभी लगभग 4 माले की रह चुकी है। पूरा काटमाल जो है वो खसने की काम जो है वो पुलिस, NDRF की टीम, पूरा गुजरात पुलिस का फोर्स और साथ ही साथ आर्मी की टीम जो है वो भी जुटी हुई है। लोकल जो पुलिस और फायर ब्रिगेड की टीम जो है वो भी फिलहाल तैनात है। एक जो अस्पताल से निकाले गए जो डॉक्टर की ओर से बोले गए जो मृत लोग हैं उनको यहाँ से PM की ओर ले जाया जा रहा है। माना जा रहा है कि आने वाले समय में और भी जो कई डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो निकाल के यहाँ से रवाना किए गए। कई सारे बच्चे थे, कई सारे युवा थे जो यहाँ से फ्लाइट में सवार होते हुए और कई जो आशास्पद युवान जो डॉक्टरी की पढ़ाई करने आए हुए थे और ये प्लेन क्रैश होने के नाते अभी फिलहाल मौत को भेटे हुए।
मौलिक जी, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ एक बार और। मौलिक जी, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ एक बार और। आप कह रहे हैं कि 22 से लेके 30 बच्चे जो MBBS की तैयारी कर रहे थे और इस हॉस्टल में रहते थे उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है,
अस्पताल ले जाया जाएगा।
मौलिक जी, आपको मेरी अगर आवाज आ रही है, मैं एक बार कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ आपसे कि ये जो MBBS की तैयारी कर रहे थे बच्चे, उसमें से 22 से 30 बच्चे उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है वहां पे उस हॉस्टल में।
माफ़ कीजिएगा, आपको एक बार क्वेश्चन जो है वो रिपीट करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि एम्बुलेंस की आवाज़ इतनी आ रही है, मैं आपको सुन नहीं पा रहा था। पर फिलहाल एक दृश्य जो है वो आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा कि जो अभी भी फिलहाल कई सारे स्वयंसेवक हैं, कई सारे एम्बुलेंस जो है वो यहाँ के लिए काम में जुटी हुई है, कागजात जो है वो निकालने के जुटी हुई है। फिलहाल एक एक करके एम्बुलेंस जो है वो अंदर भेजा जा रहा है और फिलहाल कोई भी अंदर आ ना जा सके, इसीलिए BSF का जो पॉइंट है वो BSF भी यहाँ अंदर जुटा हुआ है। लाइट जो है वो लाइट बिल्कुल ऑफ कर दिया है। टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है वो टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है यहाँ लगातार तैनात है। साथ ही साथ कई सारे स्वयंसेवक हैं वो भी जुटे हुए हैं। फिलहाल अभी AMC के जनरेटर मंगाए गए हैं क्योंकि जो आसपास में जो बड़े घने वृक्ष से उनको काटने के लिए कहीं जो जनरेटर की व्यवस्था जो है वो AMC की ओर से की जाए। ऐसी कई सारी मात्रा में एम्बुलेंस जो है एक दो डेड बॉडी निकालने के लिए आती जाती रहती है। अभी फ़िलहाल 50 से भी ज़्यादा डेड बॉडियाँ ऑलरेडी निकाल चुके हैं और उनको अस्पताल भेजा जा चुका है। फिलहाल ये मामला लगभग 1:30 बजे से जब शुरू हुआ है और अभी 6 बजने की वारदात है। 6 बजे बाद भी यहाँ से कोई बाहर निकलता है, एक दो डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो बाहर निकलती नज़र आ रही, यानी कितने लोग हैं वो अभी कहना मुश्किल है। फिलहाल जो इंजर्ड लोगों की एक सूची बाहर आई है, वो इंजर्ड लोगों की सूची में ऐसा जानने मिला है कि लगभग 25 लोग जो है वो फिलहाल इंजर्ड है। उनकी अलग अलग वार्ड में सिविल अस्पताल के अंदर जो है वो सारवार होने जा रही है और बाकी सारे जो लोग हैं उनको यहाँ से डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो निकाल के आगे की ओर ले जाया जा रहा है।
मौलिक जी, अगर आपको मेरी आवाज़ अब आ रही है, आपके आसपास बहुत आवाज़ है एम्बुलेंसेस की, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ कि जो बच्चे इस हॉस्टल में थे उनमें से कितने की मृत्यु हुई है, जो आपके पास अभी जानकारी है?
अभी जिस प्रकार जानकारी मिल रही है वो बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन है। बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन इसीलिए क्योंकि जब घटनास्थल पे ये प्लेन जब क्रैश हुआ, ये यही जगह है। मैं आपको एक बार दृश्य के मार्फत दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये जो जगह है वो बिल्कुल यही जगह है कि जहाँ से प्लेन का कॉकपिट होता है और कॉकपिट के आगे का भाग से लगभग 58 लीटर जितना फ्यूल जो था वो फ्यूल होने के नाते यहाँ टकराया था और टकराने की वजह से ये सारा जो बच्चे यहाँ हॉस्टल में पढ़ते थे, रहते थे, उनको यहाँ लगा हुआ था और ये सारे लोग यहाँ अभी मौत से जुटे हुए। सारे कई लोग जो बच गए थे वो बच गए, उसको अस्पताल में दाखिल कराया गया है, उनकी सारवार जो है वो चल रही है। पर जब तक आंकड़ा मिल पा रहा है कि 22 से भी ज़्यादा बच्चे यहाँ थे, उनको ले जाया जा रहा था और उसमें ये हादसा हुआ और ये हादसे में कई सारे पैसेंजर भी थी और वो जो पैसेंजर का आंकड़ा है वो अब तक 150 से भी ज़्यादा होने का माना जा रहा है।
ओके, Maulik the Major, thanks a lot for joining us. Let me go back to our guests who continue to be with us. Yes, Captain C.S. Randhawa was talking about what could have possibly gone wrong. I'm sorry to cut you short there. We were getting this live report. Yes, sir. Your thoughts on what could have possibly gone wrong? How can both engines of such a reliable aircraft, the Dreamliner, that had never been involved in such a crash of this nature, happen?
See, I said earlier that this could have been due to bird ingestion because Ahmedabad is a known airfield for a lot of bird activity. I have flown there enough number of times, and that was one challenge we used to have about the bird activity at Ahmedabad, even when we used to do training flights. So there could be a possibility that both engines have flamed out because of bird ingestion. There is a very less possibility that the both engines have failed because of fuel starvation, because there are separate fuel lines going into each engine, and it's unlikely that such a situation has occurred until and unless there is some contamination in the fuel, some water content which was there due to cold soak. That possibility also cannot be ruled out. The other possibility could have been that when the pilot did not have much time to think that what has to be done when he's lost control of the aircraft, could be jamming of the control. If there is a jamming of the elevator control in the aircraft, then that possibility also cannot be ruled out. So, in my opinion, it will be not correct to come to any conclusion without the AIB retrieving the DFDR and the CVR, and then only we would be able to come to know. Thirdly, let me tell you, when the aircraft crashes with so much of fuel, it is like a time bomb.
Yes.
And if it lands up over a populated area, there is no question of survivors wherever the debris of the aircraft will go, because the fuel will be all over. And fuel, you know that when it is spread, even a small fire, small light can create a havoc, because in one go it will burn the whole place.
Yes, yes. That
So
certainly
there is
seems to have happened as far as this case is also concerned. Let me also
Correct.
go across to Group Captain MJ Vinod. A very, very concerning situation this. Not only the fact that the plane crashed within a minute or so, barely had achieved any height or altitude before it crashed. It seems like the pilots were not able to control the plane at all. Their power was completely off. Both engines could have, and we are being told that that can only happen if both engines have gone off, which is a very rare situation. And then, of course, for the plane to have crashed into a residential area, my colleague was just bringing a report there from what is a tragic scene unfolding, which was a hostel for MBBS students who seem to have come in the path of this crashing plane.
Yes, Shivani, with all due respect to all the information out there, I want to, Shivani, I mean, you know me by now, I want to break it down into logical pieces. I landed in this particular runway just a couple of days ago on a twin-engine big jet, and very, very familiar with this place. I keep landing there often. So, with that as the background, I'm saying this. If you hear the voice or the noise of this particular video, you can clearly make out that the engines are humming till the time the aeroplane is touching down or hitting the ground. A loss of thrust, loss of power is not the case here. At least from the time they have started filming this video till the time the crash happens, you can hear the engine is running. Point number one. Point number two. Was it just one engine running or was it both engine running? So let's demystify, Shivani, as if one engine running. I reiterate to all our viewers, any twin-engine aeroplane, including 787 Dreamliner that we are seeing on the screen now, is capable of taking off. After V1 is when we take off. I mean, there's a speed called V1 at which we take off. The speed V1 speed caters for you to take off in one engine, climb out in one engine, carry out an emergency landing in one engine. It is designed for a single engine operation, which means even if one engine is, so we can hear the noise of the engine, assuming it is just one engine. Okay, before the video was taken, one engine, say, had died. Even if it was one engine, this aeroplane can continue to climb in one engine. It is designed to do so. then the question, Shivani, you'll ask me is why did the aeroplane sink?
Yes.
The sink can happen when you have the two engine failure or when you have loss of lift. So when you zoom in closely, as you can see, zoomed in video in the box, you can see very clearly the trailing edge of the wing is up. That is called the flaps. Normally, as you can see behind me also, the flaps are down for takeoff and landing. So it is kept down so that you can take off at a much lower speed. But if the flap goes up prematurely, whatever could be the reason, it could be electrical, it could be any reason, the aeroplane now loses lift and it starts sinking. So even with two engines, with loss of lift and heavy aeroplane will not be able to climb out.
No,
It is
just a clarification.
as simple as that.
What causes this loss of lift?
Flaps are up, Shivani, because the flaps are put down so that the aeroplane wings can generate much more lift. 120% lift is extra. Matlab, 100 plus 120 is what you get when the flaps are down. But when the flap goes up, as you pick up speed, you have to keep raising the flaps. And as you pick up cruising speed, the flaps are fully up, the aeroplane wing is straight, as it is seen in the video. So the flaps have gone up. In 2013, Shivani, this particular entire 787 was grounded because of some electrical issues. And after that, they sorted out the electrical issues and the aeroplane came back online.
Are you
So
suggesting
I'm
that
saying
there are technical issues that could have led to loss of flight?
loss of lift?
Yes.
Possible, but only the FDR will tell us whether the flap went up automatically or the flap went up due to some other reason. Only the FDR will be, and the CVR, the cockpit voice recorder, will be able to tell us. But Shivani, you turn up the volume and let the let our viewers hear the noise. The engine is running. So the loss of lift, in my opinion, could be the reason. But again, there are only two people who will know. One is the FDR, another is God. No one else can tell you what went wrong.
You know, I spoke to several experts through the day when we first got the update about this crash. And most are suggesting that this nature of crash, soon after takeoff, in what was clearly a fit aircraft to fly, it had come from Delhi to Ahmedabad and then was flying from Ahmedabad to London, could not have happened given that the pilots had no time to react, to respond. After Mayday call, they were incommunicado. This couldn't have happened without loss of engine. But you are suggesting that loss of engine is not the case here.
Turn up the volume. You will know what I'm saying. Just turn up the volume of this particular video. You will know what I'm saying. See, sound is a very, very important clue. Visual, yes, but sound is a very, very important clue, especially, you'll be surprised to know, and the viewers will be surprised to know, with sound, you can even make out what is the RPM of the engine. We have that technology where we can make out what is the RPM of the engine, and with that, we can make out whether engine was at what RPM is it going around, and did it function correctly or not. So these are the things we are able to make out with just sound. So the engine,
the question that
at
arises
least one
is,
engine was working, Shivani. At least one, and one is enough.
And one is clearly enough. So the question that arises is whether it's a technical, mechanical failure or some sort of a manual error. Dr. Vandana Singh is chairperson of Aviation, Cargo and Federation of Aviation Industry in India. And Dr. Vandana, I want to come to you with the issues surrounding the Boeing. While the Boeing Dreamliner is being called an airline with great safety record, we do know that there are whistleblowers plus other investigations that have happened into Boeing operations that have pointed out to serious lapses in security protocols, audits, etc. In fact, in April 2024, a whistleblower had actually warned against the safety of the Dreamliner 787 itself. What do you make of what has happened today?
Rightfully said, well acknowledged, and thank you for having me on your show, Shivani. Yes, indeed, first of all, 787, a Dreamliner as such is a very robust aircraft, and it has a good health check about it, that it is flying all over the world and it's being maintained well. There are whistleblowers everywhere, whether it's Airbus, whether it's Boeing, whether it's any other company, we know about that. I am actually questioning the maintenance of this particular equipment, and if all the checks were done in order. I'm also hearing all about, what could it be. Of course, the flight data, the recorder is going to reveal what it was, but it could have been a massive electrical or a software system failure cause, which means it is causing total FADEC, full authority, digital engine control, meaning complete down. But then, if the engines were running, the question is what went wrong. It could be a critical maintenance issue, it could be a weight and volume issue, it could be a misdeclaration on the flight, it could be cargo, it could be something as simple as a lithium battery or dry ice or something which is cargo aircraft only, which is loaded on this equipment. We also see it tail heavy. When we are seeing the visuals, we are also seeing it tail heavy. So there are many questions there, many speculations there, and all the experts are talking about it. But having said that, both Boeing and Airbus are having their own, set of flaws, questions. Do not forget the Qantas flight in 2008, where not engine failure, but how electrical and software glitches completely disrupted it and caused the crash. So the question is, we can speculate right now. Flight data, the recorder is going to reveal everything, but whistleblowers are definitely needed. Whistleblowers have to come out, because this is talking about the safety and security of human life.
Yeah.
We are playing with that. And I'm questioning everything from ground handling to critical maintenance to the fact, did this go through a check? It's an 11-year-old equipment, fine. It has a long life, no problem. But did it go through its A checks, which is 400 to 600 hours? Was it being checked properly? And I won't even question the C check or the D check here, which happens every 12 to 24 months, or D check, which takes after every 6 to 8 years. Was that being done? Were the audits being done by Air India? We are doing audits on Turkish Airlines, very good. Are we doing audits on Air India? Are we even checking if everything is in order? Is the maintenance coming into play? Are the people there, actually the engineers, doing their job? Is there contamination of the fuel? Why is it tail heavy? Is there a misdeclaration of weight volume? What is it? These are the questions that come to my mind at this point of time. Over to you.
VK Kukur, what do you make of it? This is a unique kind of a crash, if I can say so. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm saying this after speaking to several experts during the day over the last 4 or 5 hours, where they seem to suggest that, this is a very unique kind of crash. Something like this is not witnessed very often. Because the kind of crash, the visuals that have been captured suggest that there was engine loss. Some of our experts are now suggesting that engines were working. They can hear the clear engine hum in the visuals that have come out. What is your sense of what could have gone wrong?
It's a very, very unfortunate thing which has happened in the history of aviation. As far as 787s are concerned, they are supposed to be the best aircrafts. And I find that there is no reason at the moment to say that there's a maintenance issue or any other issue. It is something which has happened in a critical stage of the takeoff. It has happened when the aircraft is not even 400 feet above the ground. It has happened, it can only be ascertained when DFDR and cockpit voice recorders are checked and the truth will come out. But it appears there seems to be a power loss, whatever reason it could be. And the pilot must have tried to maintain, and that is why you can see the nose of the aircraft is going up and up little. That means he's trying to maintain and he's losing the speed. And the aircraft is descending maybe 400, 500 feet per minute or whatever it is. Now, It can be a loss of power, it can be a loss of lift, it can be any other reason which has taken place in split of second, which probably did not give any time for the pilots to do anything, because they were handling the aircraft fine, because you could see the aircraft the way it is going down and it is stable. There was nothing that it was tilting here, there, or some failures have taken place and trying to correct them. No, it's flying off. From the pictures I can see. Rest we'll come to know, but it's very, very unfortunate, and there is nothing else can be said at the moment.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. This has really shocked the entire country and the entire world. This power loss, sir, that you talk about, this power loss, just for the benefit of our viewers, what all things can cause this power loss?
Power loss can be due to bird also, can be any reason, because I am not an engineer or I am not an expert on 787s. But it looks like the engines were not developing the power, and that is why he was trying to maintain the height by pulling the nose up. This is what I can see from the pictures. And it is a very critical height. And it did not give him time to even turn back and land.
Yes.
Because if he had turned back, there should have been some speed. Yes. Otherwise, it would have been drag and it would have been fall. So he was trying to maintain. That's what I can see.
Yes.
I don't know much more than this, but it's a very, very unfortunate, and we cannot at the moment pinpoint any fault at the moment. Till such time the investigations are carried out. And the aircraft has already flown from Delhi or Bombay to Ahmedabad. They must have done the checks at the transit also, at the night stop also. So I don't think that if something has gone wrong, it has gone wrong in maybe 4 second or 5 second time.
Right.
5 seconds, 10 seconds. Because the aircraft has not attained more than 400 feet from the ground.
Absolutely. It happened very soon after takeoff. Hardly any altitude had been achieved by the aircraft.
It is a critical stage of takeoff.
Yes, yes. Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, who's a former A320 pilot from with Indigo, is also joining us. Captain Bhatnagar, your sense on what could have gone wrong as far as this crash is concerned?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I must, say this was a very tragic accident which has happened in the history of, 787 Dreamliner, one of the very best and one of the very excellent aircraft to fly by. Though I'm an Airbus 320 with Indigo and Air India Express. And, a lot of theories, the moment these kinds of accidents happen, so there's a lot of theories starts, floating in the air, in the WhatsApp group, in the pilot group and everything. And naturally, the footage also I have seen, and prima facie, it appears to me that, yes, what sir is saying is loss of power, because if you see the attitude of the aeroplane, it is going down immediately after takeoff within 1.6 to 1.7 nautical miles in the takeoff direction. The aircraft has gone down. Okay, the moment you see the footage, it looks like a very controlled descent, and there's no flip, there's no change in the attitude of the aeroplane or something. So it looks like a loss of power. Now how the loss of power can take place, whether it is one engine or whether it is two engine. So we are trained, in fact, all the aircraft are designed, proven and tested to fly out of the ground even with one engine failed at the time of the takeoff. So we are trained in the simulator, we do exercises regularly. So the engine, even single engine with full takeoff weight, certified takeoff weight, is designed to climb out of the runway on a single engine, clearing all the obstacles in the runway path and achieving the climb gradient for that airport which is designed. Having said that, so looks like to me that if there was some engine failure or one engine failure, the aircraft still is very flyworthy and could have gotten airborne. But the very fact that it came down like under the full force of gravity looks like loss of power on both engines, which could happen because of multiple burst strikes. if you have a multiple bird strike or on both the engines, and even though the engines are in the process of winding down and not even the loss or thrust is reduced, or there's some pipeline break or whatever can happen, right? But the engines are not producing that much thrust. And believe, and the aircraft had just taken off with full weight, all of it going to London with so much of weight on board, full fuel, everything. What you see immediately on the fire, the ball of fire, the black smoke is of fuel. Anything other than that, when you have an electrical circuit, on fire, that is a white fumes are there, but the black one is always with the fuel. It was a full fuel. So it's so prima facie, it appears to be a loss of engine or power on both the engines, but it's premature to say anything as of now. We all are speculating, and we all are giving our own theories. The flaps, which is a lift augmenting device, it's seen that the flaps are up, it's not down. The landing gear is down, which is again, it's quite surprising, because first the landing gear goes up and then the flap goes up. So the flaps are up in this case. So we are just speculating. And with my experience, what I can tell you is that this is what we cannot confirm. It's all unconfirmed. The inquiry official will tell what exactly, but it's quite tragic that has happened today.
Sir, can I ask you, in your experience, this happened very soon after takeoff, within a minute or so. The crew, the captain gave a mayday call. There was an SOS call. Could you, in your experience, just share with us what those moments could have been like inside the cockpit, given that something has gone wrong so terribly that the plane is unable to lift?
Yeah, you see, the first thing is the mayday call is given. It's a distress call. So there are two calls in international aviation fraternity. In the basic, it's distress and urgency. So distress is mayday, mayday, mayday. Urgency is pan, 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 pan. So this is it is to identify what kind of the emergency the aircraft or the aircraft is experiencing. Mayday means that it's in a distress. It means that the aircraft is under imminent danger, or the occupants of the aircraft are under imminent danger, and it could, in the civil parlance, you can say that yes, the aircraft is about to crash or something, or out of control, right? When the aircraft goes out of fuel and says mayday, mayday, that means the aircraft is not able, it's not a flyworthy, not able to sustain in the air. Okay, that is what it's that there is an imminent danger to the lives or to the aircraft and everything. That is why it's a distress call given. The very fact that the pilot gave the distress call of mayday, 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 it means that he did not have whatever could have been done, what already been done. At the end of it, once you know that they're not, it's whatever a pilot was supposed to be doing, he has done in that short span of time, 1.6 nautical miles, when the aircraft has come down after takeoff. He has already done everything, and thereafter, at the end of it, it says just informing that it's a distress situation now, and then he gives the mayday call.
Absolutely. Can I go back across to Captain C.S. Randhawa as well, because he's also been former Deputy Chief Flight Operations Inspector at the DGCA. So do you sense that there could have been any maintenance issue, as one of our guests is pointing out, that it could well plain be negligence of maintenance in this case?
I have my doubts on that, because the aircraft has flown from Delhi, and Air India maintenance is good, and I do not foresee that happening. I told you there could have been a chance of fuel contamination because of cold soak. The water has gone, because now the cold soak also, if it is taking place, and if the water has gone through the fuel pipelines along with the fuel, going into both the engines, and then both engines having turned down because of contamination, is a very rare possibility. So I think there could be a bird head, there could be a control jam, as I still mentioned, or there could be some contamination in the fuel because of the cold soak, but unlikely of any issues regarding maintenance. One point which one of the people in the panel, he spoke that the flaps seem to be up. Now, in the video, it is not clear that the flaps have gone up or flaps are down. In case the flaps have gone up, then I do not think that could be a technical issue that the flaps will go up automatically. Now, in case that happens at a low altitude, there can be a loss of lift. Okay. If the engine sounds are being heard, and if the engines were revving and they were running, then this could be a possibility, a loss of lift in case the flaps have gone up. So these are all, we are trying to speculate things, but actually everything will come clear when the DFDR and the CVR are taken out and they are analyzed. And of course, Boeing is going to be a part of the investigations because there is a lot at stake for the manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Because a fear of flying will settle in the minds of passengers who are flying 787. So it will be in the interest and of the the AIB and the Boeing company to come out which they will come out after they have analyzed the DFDR and the CVR.
Well, Boeing has indicated already in its statement that they are, of course, going to participate in whatever processes are involved and investigations. These are also visuals on the right of your screen of the Aviation Minister, Mr. Naidu, who has landed in Gujarat now, and he's at the crash site. These are live visuals that we're getting. We're also, of course, expecting Home Minister Amit Shah, along with officials of the Civil Aviation Ministry, the DGCA and others who've been asked to be on ground. Because it is really in Ahmedabad where most of the efforts are required. There are additional trains that have now been announced for to and fro Ahmedabad, especially from Delhi and Mumbai, because flight operations were disrupted and possibly people might want to take a train out, in or out of the city right now. I want to go back across to Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar one more time. Sir, this jamming that has been talked about, some other experts had also mentioned this during the day, this control jam. What causes this and what can a pilot do in a situation like that?
What Captain Andhava has said, yes, control jam can happen at any time, control surface jamming, anything which is motor failure or because it's a fly-by-wire aircraft, electric signal goes and then the hydraulics operate the system. So if there is a control jam or a control failure, definitely the aircraft will not be able, the pilot will not be able to control the aircraft. But what I try to, what my thing is that even if there is I would say a control failure or control jam, if the engines are developing thrust and if the pilot at that point of time, move the thrust levers to toga, full power, the aircraft will climb out immediately. The aircraft did not climb out, it went down. So with the control, even if you open full power of the engine, the response of the engine, the aircraft should be climbing out. Right. And secondly, if there is a partial or asymmetric control jamming or something happen, then there will be some part of, the flipping or cartwheel, what we can say, that there will be a different, if the control have been jammed. So what the video footage we see that the aircraft is maintaining, while the aircraft is going up, its nose is going up. While the aircraft going down rather, the nose is started going up, and there was quite high altitude when the aircraft touched the ground. So my thing is any kind of control failure, initially, the moment you put full power out, there is definitely a lot of thrust is generated immediately on the engine, and there will, even if the control is not able, the aircraft will have a nose up altitude and go up first instead of going down.
So something more.
That's my take on this.
Something more could have happened, and not just a control jam as far as the situation.
It was basically, it came down under the force of gravity. That's what I get, and because the weight was very high at that, it couldn't have glided also something of that sort. Wherein controlled by lowering the nose, there was no height itself. Wherein or there is a loss of lift, even if you lower the nose and develops a wing, the speed over the wings to get some lift, there was no height to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, certainly very tragic whatever has happened, and one only shudders to think what would have happened in the cockpit, giving pilots no time really to do anything. And there are about 50 to 60 medical students who have been taken to hospital now, we are being told, and we really do pray for their well-being. Let's also take final comments from Group Captain MJ Vinod and Dr. Vandana Singh one more time. Group Captain Vinod, certainly investigation is going to be very key here. The world really deserves to know what really caused this, because we don't really want speculation for too long, and we certainly don't want the fear of flying to set into the mindsets of people.
Absolutely not. And that is why I'm trying to piece it, Shivani, logically. Umpteen number of reasons are there. All those reasons can be sifted out by just these visuals. And when aeroplane is heavy, when the flap goes up, very, very important point this is. Like I said, if you could run the few visuals just with the engine noise, you can make out that engine is still running, which means power is there. When the flaps go up, Shivani, there's something called, at least in the Airbus, we have something called VLS. And there is, we call it the Barber pole, the low speed regime. It comes up and the aeroplane goes into low speed regime. And especially when you're heavy, you get into low speed regime very fast. You get into stall condition very fast when you take the flaps up prematurely. And in this case, it is the loss of lift. The reason could be umpteen,
Okay.
including electrical. So that is something we may need to keep in mind. Why the flap went up is the question that FDR will answer. Flap
Yes.
went up is the reason it went down into the ground, is my take on the subject. Rest all or noise. Over to you.
Dr. Vandana Singh, we did get an update that the entire fleet for Air India is now being reassessed. Do you think there should be an across airline kind of exercise done post this crash, even though we cannot ascertain the very reasons for this crash right now? Ma'am, could you please unmute yourself? Dr. Vandana Singh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Thank you, Shivani. My comments on this is absolutely there should be complete audits on all equipments that we all have in India. We should be very, very vigilant. This was the writing on the wall. It has been for a very long time. We have been seeing various cases happening in the US where we have been coming on the various channels and discussing it, and including the case that happened at the Jeju airport where it went into a thick wall. Now the question is that it is very pertinent, it is very important that these checks are done. We should not be just looking at Turkish, we should be looking at ourselves also, and we should be making sure that
Yes, sir.
Minister Mr. K. Rammohan Naidu to speak. The media is there with him. He's at the crash site. In fact, those are the buildings that you can see in the background. These are the hostels, we are told, and medical college students were actually staying in these hostels. One of the buildings is the mess.
कोई इशू नहीं सर, कोई इशू नहीं सर.
अभी आए इंस्पेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो थोड़ा टाइम दीजिए हमें.
ओके, थैंक यू.
I think the minister there just indicating that they've just come there. They'll take some time to inspect and speak after that. The media trying to take a response from the civil aviation minister there.
थोड़ी देर अभी करेंगे.
कोई इशू नहीं सर, कोई इशू नहीं सर.
अभी आए इंस्पेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो थोड़ा टाइम दीजिए हमें.
ओके, थैंक यू.
I'm also joined by Akash Watts, who was also in the same airplane that flew from Delhi to Ahmedabad prior to its departure from Ahmedabad to London. He has also tweeted saying that he noticed certain unusual things in place and can give more details. So Akash, if you can hear me, can you explain, can you describe your experience and what did you find that was unusual during your flight from Delhi to Ahmedabad on this plane?
Hi. So the things that were unusual were first the AC that I've already, mentioned in the video that I've shared on X. So AC wasn't working. Some people are saying that it is common practice that during takeoff the AC is turned off for a better thrust. But throughout my life, I have never experienced any such thing that the AC is turned off during takeoff, because it is just an aircraft. It is packed and there is no place for oxygen or ventilation. So it was very suffocated. In fact, I turned on the front camera. I've shared that same video. I turned on the front camera and I was sweating. My hands were sweating. After the takeoff, the compressor was like getting turned on, turned off, on, off, on, off. So the temperature, it was not stable. And usually I fly wearing a full sleeve shirt or jacket, but today I'm flying in a half t-shirt because I thought initially I thought that it would be cold and I would be needing a blanket, but it was so hot inside the plane throughout the journey. I mean, I was not able to tolerate that fact. That why it is happening. Secondly, in-flight entertainment, that is very common in Air India. It usually works. But now the thing in Boeing 787 is two things are there. One is that you don't have the option to move the flap up and down. The second one is you cannot call the cabin crew by just pressing the button in the overhead like on your overhead, right? So there was no button in the overhead. There was the button in the remote control, which I have clearly shown in the video that the button was also not working. When the plane was on ground, I wanted to call the staff, I mean the air hostess, to tell her about the issue. But then I was not able to call, and right after takeoff they came. But by that time I adjusted ki okay, it's just half an hour or like it's just 1 hour flight. ठीक है, in 40 minutes we'll be landing. क्या ही बोलूँगा? Everyone thinks that कि यार अब जो हो गया क्या इस पे it is not working. If it is not working, so मेरे phone से it will not work. So I ignored it. Third thing was I was sitting on seat 25A, right? And I was just next to this left engine, right? I'm listening to these news now, but I'll be giving my opinion. Uh, so I noticed that the wing were like the flaps and everything. I was thinking that they are not like properly. They were
Okay.
like kind of unstable. Yeah.
All right. We'll take that on notice. Thanks a lot, Akash Watts, for joining us. He says that he has experienced some unusual instances when he boarded the same plane when it flew from Delhi to Ahmedabad earlier in the day. Time for me to wrap up Plain Speak. The Right Stand is coming up in just a bit.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I can assure you that Indian aviation is probably one of the safest in the world. We have all the protocols in place. Our DGCA is very robust and effective. And to find, to pick holes into our ability to manage Indian aviation would be very unfair. And I always say this, and I repeat, that aviation is either 100% or zero. There's nothing like 99.9% in aviation. And therefore, in this case also, look at the aircraft. It arrived from Ahmedabad from Delhi. Obviously, it flew without any issue. And to take a 9.5-hour journey from Ahmedabad to London, obviously the pilots would have done all the pre-flight checks. And no pilot is foolish enough to take off if he is not satisfied. The captain per se in this aircraft would have also had thousands and thousands of hours of command. And a 787 and today's aircraft per se are very robust, fail-safe. They have many backup systems. And to really think what went wrong, I would be hazarding a guess, which would not be fair. But the point here is the aircraft did go on a takeoff roll. And between the time the wheels went up and the time it crashed, probably the time frame would have been almost only about 60 seconds or so, because you can't go to 800 feet and crash and it be within the time span is only 60 seconds. Now, he's already given a mayday call. Now, I don't know what exactly went wrong. It will be, again, hazarding a guess, which would be unfair. The only thing which can be ascertained is now, since the aircraft has fallen just a few hundred meters from the airport and in the BJ Medical Complex, therefore, to retrieve the black box and the other equipment would be also, quite simple. We would be able to ascertain only after that. Let me tell you one more thing. In today's aircraft, they are very sophisticated. All the parameters of an aircraft, right? Every single second the aircraft is in the air, all the parameters are recorded, not only by the aircraft, but they also transmit it to a central command, real time, of the airline itself. So if there is, when an aircraft does a flight, there is a way to ascertain every single parameter during whatever the duration of the flight. So if anything would have gone wrong prior to this flight, or which may have escaped the attention of anybody, I'm sure this will be retrieved in no time once the equipment is found.
Now, Mr. Patel, just to go back in time, because this fleet, the Dreamliner, very, very safe. I think from what the experts are saying, and I only have them to sort of lean on for facts, they've said that this is the first time a Dreamliner has actually crashed anywhere in the world. Now, most of these Dreamliners were purchased, I suppose, about 10, 12, 15 years back by Air India when it was still government-owned. Obviously, there would have been a huge procedure that must have unfurled within government to select the plane. There would have been due diligence. There would have been all sorts of studies that would have been conducted.
Well, most certainly. I mean, first, the procedure itself in government is a very robust procedure. Goes through several layers. And ultimately, the basic selection of aircraft is done only on technical parameters. Because, the airline, requires a certain type of aircraft for certain, lengths of the flights. You want to go to the US, you want to go to the European countries, or to, 8-hour flights, 12-hour flights, and so on. And the kind of configuration you want. Let me also tell you that the Dreamliner, at the time it was ordered, was one of the most sophisticated, advanced fly-by-wire aircraft which was going to be produced. And it was ordered by probably most major airlines in the world, Air India also being one of the early ones. And to now even discuss it would be unfair, because after this particular aircraft,
Watching the right stand, I'm Akanksha Swaroop. We're getting in breaking inputs. In fact, in deeply tragic news coming in, what we're learning is that Gujarat's former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani is confirmed dead in the shocking Air India plane crash that took place today, and that took place on Thursday afternoon. Remember, he had checked into the Z class, which, as we all know, falls under the business class category. Deeply, deeply tragic news coming in that the former Gujarat CM has been declared dead.
Yes. I'll only give one line to what you have asked right now. We are going to do a fair and thorough investigation. We are not going to spare anyone. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. We will do properly according to